say you could
go to the Super Bowl?
I was carried away.
I wasn't.
Celebrate one of the most romantic seasons of all time.
What would you say if I told you I think I'm in love with you?
The Detroit Lions.
You're a preppy millionaire and I'm smart and poor.
If you
Dip the field goal.
now, I'll not give you the time of day.
You asked it around your question around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric, and I'm already in trouble because Mark has started doing these fancy video intros now that we're back on video for those of you who subscribe to Patreon for just $5 a month. And I was looking down at some of my show prep and I did not watch it, and I'm
2 weeks in a row you're not appreciating
last week's was brilliant. I loved it. I was screwed to the screen. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah. It's really funny because
Riveted. I was riveted.
I've grown up in my job doing audio editing, so video editing is entirely different. And then I get really discouraged when I think about all these young Gen Zers who can just do it on their phone super quick and then post it up there. It's like, I'm an old man. I've out-aged technology.
I did see Tommy Lee Jones there with the late Ryan O'Neal from our Love Story inspired intro, which it's a story about love that came suddenly and unexpectedly and then was taken away, much like our Detroit Lions season.
Oh, boy.
And Shawn Windsor has had his travails while making his travails from San Francisco back to Detroit. And
Shawn, what were you just? Shawn, were you just looking out the window? Was it a squirrel that got your attention? Oh, where is he?
Yeah,
there he is. What's up?
Somebody's shoveling over there. It caught the corner of my eye. The movement.
You're like a dog.
Oh, it's nice. No, it's nice to look at. Better than looking at the screen.
But ML's on it.
Well, you're on the screen. Yeah, what's going on over there? But
I don't want to see myself.
Well, Shawn, Marc, and I, but not this accursed wet snow, are all brought to you by our generous sponsors of this show, many of whom are you, our Patreon members. We appreciate you signing up for just $5 a month. You get an ad-free version of the show. You can watch a video of the show, and that's just for $5 a month. It's really easy to do. We have a link to Patreon on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And, of course, we're brought to you by longtime Red Shovel sponsor, the Aldo Eye Center, who's provided many thousands of Michiganders with state-of-the-art eye procedures, giving them precise vision both near and far without the need for glasses, contacts, or reading glasses. Go to yaldoeyecenter.com and schedule your free evaluation. If you don't know how to get to Yaldo Eye Center, check out Zott, Ford, and Holly because they have got some sweet whips at some silly prices. $200 a month lease for some 2023s. These are brand new cars, by the way. It's 2023, but they're brand new cars. Great deals. We're going to tell you more about them later in the show. And if you play for the long game, which is really the only game you want to play for, Luke Nowacki and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies can help you get prepared for retirement, can help you come up with a financial plan so that you're not watching the up and down of the stock market. So you're just sitting there letting your money work for you. Luke, Zach, and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. We'll tell you a little later on the show how to get in touch with them. But all these guys, you can find their links on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. But I got to start off with a little bit of an alibi. 2 weeks ago, we told you we would have cast members from the Kwame Kilpatrick biopic here.
Yeah, I'm dying to meet the guy that played you, ML.
Well, we're trying to get him. Apparently, he's booked up because he's, when you look like him,
no one's
the world's your oyster.
Oh,
he doesn't look like me. That's why I thought he might be in demand. But we did bump that because we had some other news and because we ourselves want to see what Shawn told me is actually a biopic. He may have just been a contrarian. So we are going to have them in a future show.
No, and I don't want to see it, so don't speak for me, and I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, no, Shawn hates stories that just keep repeating, so he's been watching the Lions lose big games.
Oh, man.
I don't really hate anything, but,
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I don't hate you guys.
There's some things.
mean, there's at
We
least
should do an episode of
There's got to be at least a healthy dose of self-hatred in there. I mean, nobody's that grumpy without having some serious issues about,
One of our bonus episodes should just be things Shawn hates. And we'll see how long that episode is.
I don't hate
we could start with room 7609. That'd take up the first hour.
I don't hate room 7609.
I think we may have some audio evidence to the contrary, but we will get back to the Kwame Kilpatrick biopic.
It's a strong. Yeah, maybe when I'm gone
In a future show. But the other thing, we do have, and here's something Shawn hates. Here's some more Kwame Kilpatrick news. Get the bell ready. Last week we talked to you about the massive house in Novi that was purchased by his wife's company. And if you watched last week's video, or you still can, if you're a Patreon member, you saw my video of going out to investigate where that company is based. This week, or last week, I should say, Robert Snell of the Detroit News reports that Kwame Kilpatrick also purchased a $90,000 SUV. So this notion that Mr. Kilpatrick is broke is fallacious. This notion that Mr. Kilpatrick
what was the SUV? Was it a Navigator?
It was a foreign car, by the way. So Kilpatrick, who loves Detroit so much, comes back to Novi. And then when he buys a car, he buys a foreign car. So
what about his beloved Navigator? Although, in fairness to him, it's Carlita that really liked the Navigator.
Her Navi?
Wink, wink.
When do I get my Navi?
Yeah.
Yeah, she liked the Navigator. And had driven a Navigator before she became mayor, or before he became mayor, which is how we figured out it was Kwame Kilpatrick. Did we ever tell that story on the air before?
It started again. I don't remember.
Okay, so there was all this controversy. Steve Wilson and I both reported at the same time that the city spent $24,995, just $5 below the threshold where they had to get approval, to lease a Navigator. Now, Wilson went out there and reported that it was for the First Lady. We knew that, but we didn't have it confirmed to our satisfaction, so we just reported that the police department or the city had leased it. And
hey, can I ask you a question about that? So do you think he had it another source on it, or do you think it was just enough for his satisfaction?
I think it was enough for his satisfaction because his producer was calling me all week saying, when are you going to say it was for the First Lady? You know it was. When are you going to say it's for the First Lady?
Really?
So I think they were taking a lot of heat, and they didn't have the kind of backup that made them comfortable they could stand up to scrutiny. And I said, we all know it was for the First Lady. In fact, a month or so before we reported this, I had told the mayor's spokesperson at the time, just admit it because it's better to get in front of it. Yeah. If it's true, we are eventually going to get it. And when we get it, we're going to report it and we're going to shove it up your ass. Mm-hmm. And he said, I know you are, but they're telling me there's no Navigator. I said, dude, anyway, so.
And you could have been on the end of this.
Quit buying prostitutes. You quit buying prostitutes.
Because that was his response, and Steve confronted him with it.
Yeah, but I've never paid for it in my life. Not with money. In terms of regret, yeah. But so we kept pushing on it. And what broke the story was I'm a great collector of scraps and notes and string. We in reporting, we call it collecting string, where you just collect details and facts and information. And when you have enough, you kind of put it all together, and then you got something. So when Kilpatrick was first elected mayor, there was this sort of purplish Navigator parked in the mayor's parking spot outside City Hall. And when I walk in that entrance every day, and I went to the security desk, I said, hey, who's parked in the mayor's parking spot? That's pretty bold. And they said, and I'd written down the license plate. And they said, oh, that's the First Lady's car. And I said, oh, okay. Mm-mm. So this was the vehicle they had personally leased. So I ripped off that little piece of paper from my notebook with the license plate number and stuck it in my desk drawer. And so during the week, as the heat was increasing on Kilpatrick to admit that it was the city leasing a vehicle for the First Lady, the deputy mayor at the time, Anthony Adams, was a little older guy. He was a little more steady when it came to taking heat than the Kilpatrick administration. And by the end of the week, I had found this scrap of paper in my desk, and I talked to my boss. I said, well, the license plate on the car that they say isn't for the First Lady was on another Navigator that was for the First Lady. And they said, oh, shit, take that to the city. That's it. You broke the case wide open. And I thought, Makes sense to me, but I don't know. But we called, and Anthony Adams started handling this issue by then, and he basically just said, "You got us." I think.
Really? Wow.
I think he had wanted for a long time for the city to cop to this, and I'm sure Christine Beatty, she of the stone wall building, was like, "Fuck them, they can't get it," And I think he's just like, "Well, this is my excuse to put an end to all this." He said, "Yeah, it was that. You're right. It was for." So we reported that. Steve Wilson and his producer let out a huge sigh of relief. And that weekend, Kilpatrick had a press conference, admitting to it and blaming it. It was a communications failure by the administration. Right. And the funny part of that,
they could have gotten ahead of it though. Like you even told them to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people had said you leased a vehicle for the first lady, I don't think people expect the mayor's wife and his children to drive around in a car that isn't, a police vehicle with a police driver. I mean, it made sense, but their whole thing was, we're perfect. We never do anything weird or wrong. And it also, not to drag us too deep into history, but the real scandal at the time was this was a luxury vehicle at a time when the city was slashing pay and workers. But even worse than that, and I was the one who reported this, Steve didn't get this part, but I went to the dealership and they showed me the lease and I said, "Well, is this a standard lease?" They said, "No, we don't do 1-year leases." And these people who work for the mayor came in and said, "We've got $24,995. We want a Navigator." And they said, "Well, that's more than a
1-year lease."
Yeah, and they said, "Well, this is here's our check. Just give us the car." And they said, "Well, I'll tell you what. We'll give you a 2-year lease because we do 2-year leases, and that's still more money. But if that's what you have, So the dealership actually did the city a favor when the mayor, who was preaching austerity, was throwing money around like there was no tomorrow because his wife wanted a Navigator. Yeah. So it was pretty ridiculous. And if you read the Kwame Sutra, and if you're a Patreon member,
is that available anywhere?
We will be sending Patreon members at a certain level a copy of the Kwame Sutra, which is autographed. There's a line in there from the press conference where just as it's about to start, Kilpatrick has all these hostile reporters there, and he turns to Jim and he says, "Jim, get him off me." And I'm like, "You think Jim Schaefer's going to save your ass? I mean, he's here because we're the ones busting your ass." But it was one of those deals where in a hostile crowd, a familiar face was better than an unfamiliar face. And
I just wish Kilpatrick would go away. I mean, he's good for content, but I just wish he would go away.
Well, yeah. I mean, we keep hearing about how smart he is and how much he has to contribute. And I don't, he's not stupid, although he certainly does a lot of stupid things. And
I don't think he's stupid at all.
But if an idiot like me keeps catching him, he can't be that smart. But then all this stuff that he has to contribute, I think he does have something to contribute, but would he just get out of his own way? Would he quit doing this shit where he feels like he has to be treated like some sort of royalty? Yeah, I mean, if you're going to humble yourself, which I think you have to do to help people, for God's sake, just get to the humbling part or the humbling part, as he would say, and forget this. Yeah, all of a sudden he's British. Him and Johnny Depp and Madonna. 3 small egos there.
Yeah.
But quit making headlines for all the wrong things. And my God, there are many of us who have raised our families, I think, very well in much simpler domiciles than this 5,000, 6,000 square foot home in Novi. I mean, dude.
And now a $90,000 SUV. So
and
good
not too long ago he was in an 8x10 free rental.
So it averages out
facility.
to a normal size home.
Yeah,
in his life.
I guess he just wants to spread out.
That lease was a little longer than.
So so we will.
Right, Shawn? You've never looked better, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Why Shawn turned off his camera? I don't know why.
He says he doesn't hate the Kilpatrick stuff, but he does, so he's out.
What were you going to say?
No. I just had to mute myself for a bit for the, the coughing stuff.
Yeah, but your camera's off too.
Yeah, because I don't want, you don't need to see me doing that.
Well, as long as that's the only coffin you're looking at, we're glad, because I understand you're finally going to get a rest. I mean, this this Lions thing has been a hell of a run, but you also were getting pretty run down, just as this thing was to a lot of us getting ready for Super Bowl time.
Yeah.
Segue to Shawn.
Yes, we're talking to you.
Toss to Shawn.
Yeah.
Veteran of podcasting. Shawn, this is where the producer points at you and says, go.
We want to hear about your journey to, California.
I want to hear about Mike's. That's nice. Is that a jersey?
I better stand up.
Jersey?
I don't like that you can see us and we can't see you.
This is a winter classic.
Yeah, nice.
Let me see. See, I got my.
Oh, there's the patch.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Sorry, everything's in reverse. I can't.
Wait, is that the one that was at the big house?
Cool.
Yes, and you know why I missed that one?
Cool.
Because it was at the big house?
Spartan Rose Bowl victory.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. My big takeaway from that.
That was not that was not stripped, by the way. That Rose Bowl championship is going to stand.
Yeah.
Not tainted. No asterisk.
So is this, by the way. Yeah.
What does that say?
This is national champions.
Walmart. What?
2023.
No, you're not a Walmart Wolverine.
I don't care if I was.
You're the rarest of all. You're a Columbus Wolverine. Those are hard to come by.
Yeah. So Shawn, how was it out there? I'm still kind of
more obvious toss to Shawn. So Shawn,
I still want to talk about the Lions. I love the team.
Of course.
It's been a great year. Sunday was just. I can't fight. I'm not mad and I'm not sad. I don't know what the right. You guys are writers. Tell me what the right adjective is.
I'm glad I'm not a betting man because I would have put $1,000 on him at halftime and then been even more upset that
to
they shit
win
the
or
bed.
to lose.
To win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were rolling.
Yeah, but in the NFL, nobody wins by that much.
I don't watch the NFL that much, which is also why I wanted to ask you guys, is Deebo Samuels a linebacker or a receiver? This guy's friggin' huge.
He's everything. He's a receiver. He's a running back.
I mean,
the guy's a monster.
He's a big fella.
Toss to Shawn.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Cue Shawn. Shawn,
yeah.
go.
Again, I don't know if I can talk without starting to cough. Sorry.
Really? Are you
But
that
I'll
bad?
try.
What's wrong with you? What do you have now?
It's the same stuff that just didn't completely go away, and then I started back on the road. It's just, a lot of stuff's been going around, but when you're traveling and not sleeping and working all the time, it's just harder to shake.
You're lowering our expectations with your expectorations.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll tell you this.
The phlegmatic Shawn
You
Windsor.
were way more energetic before we even started. What's going on with you?
I don't feel well.
All right. We got that.
I got.
It's because we were talking about porn. Shawn loves to talk about that
I was
shit.
on a plane from Detroit to San Francisco on Friday afternoon, and we get up in the air a little bit, get up the cruise, whatever, and there's a guy across the aisle, one row up, and he's reading the Detroit Free Press. And you don't see that often these days, the actual printed paper. And I can tell that he's reading my column because he turns the page and I can see my name on the reefer on the inside. And, whatever. So that was kind of, it's like old school a little bit. And then, I'm not going to say anything or whatever. And so 4 hours later, we land in San Francisco and we stand up and we're right next to each other. He's sheathed in Lions gear. And we're standing waiting for the door, whatever, to get out. And I said, hey, so how good are your seats? Just, because we're right next to each other. And he busts out in a grin and starts telling me where his seats are. Well, he's got a British accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he asked me, well, where am I sitting? I tell him in a press box and work for a newspaper in Detroit, et cetera. And,
in fact, the one you've been reading on the plane, sir.
But yeah. But when he speaks in the accent, it sort of triggers a little something. And then he tells me his name, and I thought, oh shit. Because I told him my name, he tells me his name. I'm like, oh shit. I said, oh, Tim. His name is Tim Evans. Well, I looked at him and said, I didn't. You sent me a really nice email about 6 weeks ago, and I never returned it. And I am so sorry. When the Lions played in Chicago, I went early. I went the night, Saturday night, hung out downtown Chicago with a bunch of Lions fans, and then all through the tailgate Sunday morning. I wrote a piece about how Detroiters had taken over stadiums all fall. Right, we've talked about this, and he responded to that column and wrote me a really nice column, a lot of nice things to say. It turns out he is from London, grew up in London, but spent a couple of few years in Plymouth, I don't know, 20 years ago, and fell in love with the Lions and fell in love with the spirit of Detroit and the Lions. And so started coming to a Lions game, 1 or 2 a year for a while. So he was coming from London to the NFC title game. And I just thought that was, and he was going to bring his son. I think his son was in the back of Gareth. Mike. I thought, oh, Michael like Gareth. But yeah, isn't that something? People coming from all over the place.
Yeah, but I could see it going the other way too. There's a lot of people here that like English soccer. I could see going over there.
He talked about that, and so I said, hey, I'll come see. I'm going to come take a picture of you in the stadium. So before the game, I went out and schlepped and up across the other side of the stadium. You know how it is, fighting through those concourses, and met him and his son and took a picture. And he was telling me that he's been all over Europe for World Cup, for Premier League games. He's been to lots of different big sporting events, and he's never seen anything like he did 2 weeks ago. He went to the Stafford game.
Oh, he did, yeah. God, that was incredible, that game.
He said, I've been to a lot of amazing sporting events on the world stage, and I've never seen anything like that. I thought that was interesting.
Did Tim tell you that he was written about by Dave Burkett in 2014?
Was he?
Yeah, when the Lions played, I would just Google them, and Burkett wrote about him in 2014. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
So maybe he was reading the Free Press to see a mention of himself instead of to read your column.
So maybe he's an attention seeker, is what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying he's got a history with the Free Press.
So yeah, but you're saying it's benign or no?
No, I don't know what I'm saying, Shawn.
So I read that story, and you didn't write about the baseball hat guy. Who wrote about that?
Oh, the cap. It wasn't a baseball. It was a beanie, right? Or was it a baseball cap?
I thought it was a baseball cap, but somebody else wrote about that. I was wondering, I wonder how they found out about this guy. Did they see him on a blog, or was there something on social media or something like that? But it sounds like you just said, hey, somebody write about this guy.
Right? Wasn't he an Irishman or no? Or was he English?
This is your story, right? So it just was kind of...
No, this is a different story. You're talking about the Free Press did a story a few days ago about somebody from England who, when he was a kid, there was a Detroiter over visiting and just gave him a Lions hat.
Yeah. Oh, that's a different story?
That's a different story.
So are you guys going to write about any American fans of the Lions?
and then there was a story.
Do we have any? I heard there's a lot of them all season.
I did when I went to Chicago. Then there was the story about the Australian couple who came over for I don't know how
also
they
not
fell in
American
love with it, but yeah, no, I know that.
So are you guys only writing about fans of Lions in countries where Star Wars and Hobbit movies have been filmed? I mean, could you do like 8 Mile?
No, that's I think that was New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Supposed Anglophile.
It's all under the Southern Cross, brother.
I hate that you don't have your camera on. I have no idea what you're doing over
I just
there.
like
It's
the
really
pulsing
bothering me.
S.
I know, but
I'm not doing anything.
Why don't you turn your camera on? What are you hiding?
I'm not doing anything. I'm not hiding anything.
That's what Jeffrey Toobin said. Of course, he did have his camera on and somehow survived all that. What happened with that? That was weird.
Shawn?
I don't know what happened.
Shawn, you're at like 70% today. Is that what it is? Are you playing hurt?
I don't know. Yeah, very. I don't know Jeffrey Toobin, so.
For God's sake.
Familiar with a former running back name of Orenthal James Simpson? He and Mr. Toobin spent some time together in a courtroom, famously.
I don't know him either. Ask Drew or Charlie.
And I don't know that much about football, and you don't know Orenthal
or
James.
Mike, or ask,
he lost his job. I'll tell you, he lost his job.
That likes to have opinions about people they don't know. You're surrounded by people like that.
He lost his job with, was it the New Yorker magazine that the meeting was with, and then retained his...
because he was masturbating in front of the camera or whatever. I don't know, right? Or
so you do know
unconsensual.
about it.
Yes, you know what you're talking about.
Or just exposed. I don't know Jeffrey Toobin.
Under withering cross-examination, Shawn... speaking about...
What do you need to know?
Speaking about Shawn's... The rules... Shawn's rules... We gotta take a dog leg here and talk about Shawn's rules.
Please do.
I listened to the Carlos and Shawn podcast. Yes, that was me. And
that one?
Yeah, and there was this whole digression where Shawn goes on about how, Carlos, you're always telling people how to live their life. I don't like to give people career advice. All I ever get from you is career advice. I was pounding the dashboard as I'm listening to this thing on the way home from hockey. I sent Carlos a text that said, oh, Mr. Windsor doesn't like to give people career advice all the time. And he's like, I know, that's all he does. I said, I know. I think you guys were talking about Harbaugh. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Shawn, but I anticipated what Shawn was going to come back with was only for people I know. So he'll only compliment women who he knows. He'll only give career advice to people he knows. But who really knows anybody, Shawn? Truly. Who really knows what's in somebody else's heart?
I guess there's... Yeah, no, I'm not some person to sit up on a fucking ivory tower and dispense advice like that. You know what I mean? That's
well, you sat in this basement in a Naugahyde chair and dispensed advice like that.
If certain people call me up, one on the other end of this mic and the other one you texted, both of whom have called me up and said, hey, what do you think about this? And should I do this? And I'm going to leave if this doesn't happen, or I'm going to take this, whatever. And you establish that, then yes. So yes, I think that kind of opens the door when you are not being genuine. I'm not talking about you, or you're trolling, or whatever, or you're trying to find your voice, and that's totally different than at the role as a columnist. You're just going to sit there and throw grenades all the time. Look, I get it. Some people want that. That's not me. You know, it's not me for sit there and say, oh, Jim Harbaugh, you're making a huge mistake. I don't know Jim Harbaugh like that. What do you mean he's making a huge mistake? Yeah, how do you know? I'm
not saying whether Carlos is right. I'm just saying I detected a hint of hypocrisy there in the podcast.
There's no hypocrisy at all between people in your life that call you up or text you and ask what you think about their career, and then going into a pod or a column or whatever and saying to a total stranger, oh, you're fucking your life up.
Well, you know what's interesting though, Shawn, is and I'm kind of more like you. I feel like a little nuanced. I'll maybe throw an opinion out there a little stronger than you will, but that's kind of been what's driving me nuts about sports radio and a lot of columnists and bloggers and stuff is that they'll say stuff like that when nobody knows if it's a good move or not.
Of course they don't. They're shit.
But if you did that though, maybe
the truth a little bit.
What's that?
Not Mike. Mike doesn't do that. Mike actually doesn't do that at all in his columns. He's very level-headed.
But does that drive you nuts as working in that industry? Does that drive you nuts that those are the people that get attention, the ones that, a little bit gas baggy?
It's just the world. It's our politics. Everything works like that. Our politics work like that, right?
Yeah, and it drives me up a wall.
Pardon me?
It drives me up a wall.
Yeah, but for every Jerry Seinfeld, there's an Andrew Dice Clay or whatever, right? I mean, it's the same dynamic.
Well, here's
you're going to have a nuanced little observation comic over here, and then you're going to have somebody over here. You know what I mean?
Talking about, yeah, but that's comedy. That's,
What's the deal with sign stealings? Why is everybody stealing signs? Is nobody stopping? Is nobody yielding?
Worst impersonation.
It's not too bad, though. Yeah, they tried. I give them credit for trying. No, okay. But it is the same. Mark, you're absolutely right. No, it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. It's the way the world works.
Bothers me.
Why does it bother you? Because you want a different kind of discourse overall.
Well, because I feel like, and maybe it's from doing what we do. I feel like 90% of those people don't believe what they're saying,
or they do, and they're delusional,
or they don't know what they're
who's
saying.
Judging who now?
This is my biggest problem is these days access to newsmakers is so restricted. I think there used to be times when in politics for sure, and I imagine in sports as well, where you could have candid conversations off the record with people. You could sit with the coach in their office and talk about something, where you could sit with an elected official or a public official and have a conversation about what's really going on. And so later, if you become a columnist and you want to write about something, you would have some informed opinion because you knew things that weren't in the public domain. These leaders now are so far removed from the public. I don't know how they know what we care about. I think there's
an illusion though that they're not, because they can control the message with social media. They can get out whatever message they want to get out.
Yeah, they create this faux populism where they speak directly to you on Twitter or something like that. But for columnists, I mean, how many times have you, and you don't have to name who, Shawn, but how many times, and when was the last time you had a conversation with a major sports figure that was just a bull session where you're just kind of shooting a breeze? Does that happen anymore?
Well, here and there occasionally. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, but it was a text. Although I had a phone conversation, maybe a few days before that. But yeah, so it does happen occasionally, but it happens a lot less than it used to. No question.
Well, then I think it's hard to write about what someone really feels because you haven't even had an opportunity for them to tell you what they really feel unless it's in a room full of people where it's very carefully crafted. I think in most cases.
Mike Rosenberg wrote a couple of columns about Harbaugh in the last couple of weeks. One saying he thought he wanted to stay for Sports Illustrated, former Detroit Free Press columnist. He thought he wanted to stay, and that Harbaugh's preference. And then after he left, he wrote a column saying, I kind of stand by my reporting that it was a preference. And he's, been around that family. And I remember him writing about the two brothers for SI when I think early in Harbaugh's tenure at Ann Arbor, or maybe it was still in San Francisco. I can't remember. But anyway, so yeah, some people, you have connections, and it allows you to give an opinion based on, I mean, you have to be a little bit careful sometimes because maybe somebody on one side of the family or one acquaintance or friend has a slightly different idea about that person that you're talking to than the other person, than somebody on the other side of the family. So, you know this, Mike, right? You got to take that with a grain of salt a bit. But
well, I don't know. You have to be careful.
You're not out there. Yeah, you're not. It's funny because you're not judgy at all in your columns.
I don't know about that. I think I said that the Attorney General sucked for not beating the shit out of somebody who deserved it when they said they were going to, and that she should release some records when she didn't, and that some judges should be removed from the bench when they were just admonished. So I wouldn't say that's a column to go for milk toast.
You're laying out facts, and they broke this, whatever. You're talking about stuff that's broken in the system.
Well, it's one thing to judge a person; it's another to judge their work.
Exactly, and you're laying out things that are kinks in the system, or sometimes a lot worse than a kink, and you think this needs to happen because this happened, and that's a fact. You're not saying I don't like the way they sound, or I don't, I'm worried about their character, whatever. You're not.
Well, that's what I mean? That's true. There is a lot of evidence supporting what I'm arguing, or maybe I see myself as coming to the only conclusion that a reasonable person could come to, knowing that. But with sports, it's hard to get to these people. And you mentioned Rosenberg. By the way, is Rosie okay with Sports Illustrated? Is he one of those guys who's wondering?
He's as far as I know, he's okay for now. So,
God, I almost wish they'd get rid of him so he could come back to the Free Press.
He's
why to piss Michigan fans off.
He's a Michigan man himself.
I know, but Michigan fans are no fan of Rosenberg.
That's because they're a bunch of babies. But the thing that Shawn mentioned a minute ago that really is important too, and I think Mary Trump is
nice judging all Michigan fans, by the way.
I meant the royal you. Now that you're crowned champions, but the danger you do have is when people do talk to you. Look at it. You're not putting yourself on camera with that. You flashing the colors.
No,
but
they
you're
can
not
see it.
It's
on the camera.
I thought I was on the.
No,
I'm looking at the preview.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I've been scratching myself at the wrong times. But the danger you have is the people who will talk become. They have an outsized influence because they're willing to talk, and so people go to them. So if you were only talking to members of the Trump family about Donald Trump and all you got was his niece, Mary Trump, you'd have a very different view of the Trump family than you would if you got from Don Jr. and Lara and Eric and, whoever else, Ivanka.
So I'll bring
that is a danger.
I'll bring it back to the Lions then. Were you in the locker room after the game?
That's some professional broadcasting there. Screwed up by the co-host of the Carlos and Shawn show.
I was briefly.
So what was the feeling? Was it shock or was it anger?
They weren't angry. They were just despondent.
Despondent.
I don't know if they were shocked. They were just, Campbell looked like he'd been crying in the locker room, and they were just. Penei Sewell was a little bit angry, right? He didn't want to say much. And Alex Anzalone was thoughtful, like he always is, and sat there for several scrums. And Lee McNeil, who was also very thoughtful, the defensive tackle, he was good. But no, they were gutted.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were angry. They were gutted.
Did you see Reynolds or Gibbs? Did they seem like they were particularly down, or were they being consoled, or did people give them space?
No, okay. I didn't see that because, when you got to make choices. You can stay and listen to Campbell, which you kind of want to do, or you can go to the locker room, or you can stay and listen to golf, or you can go to the locker room. Sometimes you can do both, but by the time you get to the locker room, you've missed. So, depends on what your angle is and what you want to write, what you need to, who you need to talk to, that kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you, I listened to Campbell's post-game press conference on the Drew and Mike Overreaction show, because as soon as the onside kick was lined up, I switched over to Welcome to Wrexham. But Campbell is got to be one of the most impressive people in all of sports. I mean, everything he said was right. He had the right tone. I mean, he was disappointed, but he was also encouraging and inspiring. And
he's genuine.
Yeah, it didn't feel like this was a guy giving me a bunch of coach speak. In fact, and I don't listen to a lot of his press conferences, but I haven't heard the kind of regular tripe come out of his mouth that I expect to hear from a coach at that level, or frankly, from most levels. Was he, when you heard him, Shawn, did he seem different from most of the coaches you've seen in those situations?
I mean, he just has always been that way. And again, you want to, he was crushed, kept his head down a lot, right? And especially walked in, he didn't look up and out like he normally does. He was just crestfallen, and
he didn't sound defeated bit, right? In that press conference.
The way he said he was gonna, he understood some of the decisions he made were gonna be up for scrutiny, and that's part of it. And I thought just the honesty, the way he said he told his team. He said, I was just, I was in there, and I told my team that, hey, that might have been our shot. That might have been our only shot. He said, now, do I believe that? No, but he was trying to impress upon him that just how hard it is to do it and to get to that point.
And he won a Super Bowl with New Orleans.
They'll be there again, and then they never get there again. But I thought that was interesting. He told us that he told his players, look, this might have been it. So what are we going to do?
Damn. Yeah. Hope he didn't tell the season ticket holders.
he doesn't believe it. He told them, I don't believe that. But he was just trying to.
The reality.
He was just being real. He was being real with him.
Is he one of your favorite coaches to cover?
Oh, by far.
Yeah. Who else is on that list?
He's just the way he handles everybody. Two people ask the question at the same time. He says, hey, okay, I'll start with you, and then I'll come over to you, and he knows everybody's names, whatever. He gets it.
Who else is
Jared
on the
Goff? Wait a second, Jared Goff talks about Campbell's emotional intelligence. You can say whatever. It's become a cliche. I know it's a phrase we've heard a lot in the last several years, but it's true. It's true. I mean, he's tough, right, and all that, but he gets people.
Well, he looks like a meathead.
I think people stereotype him as
he's not
such.
a meathead. Holy crap! This guy is.
He's one of the smarter coaches I've ever been around, to be honest. I mean, he understands.
Well, you have been around Lions coaches for a long time.
People are a lot of Lions fans, and maybe not a lot, but there's some folks out there that you mentioned Carlos earlier, who think Ben Johnson's going to take the trajectory of the franchise with him. And I'm like, no, this is Campbell. Campbell's the one that sees everything. He's the one that proves everything. He sees at a high strategic level. People don't think that, though, because they think he's a meathead.
Well, who wrote the column that said we're going to trust the people to replace the OC and the DC because they're the people who hired the OC and the DC? You did? I thought that was a pretty smart column.
Yeah, that was your most recent one, right?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah. Did you write that after talking to somebody from Scotland?
No.
Wearing a Lions tartan.
You're from Scotland?
Very indirectly.
Well, before we move on, I want you to answer the questions. I want to know some of the more enjoyable coaches you've covered, and I won't say worst. I'll say who are some of the more difficult coaches to cover?
Enjoyable. Sometimes the most enjoyable ones were also occasionally difficult, right? That's kind of how.
Oh, what a Shawn answer.
No, but it's true. Like Stan Van Gundy was really fun to cover because he was smart and engaging, and
he had a personality too. You know, he knew things
did,
outside of basketball.
And he really didn't get. He could get opinionated for sure and go off a little bit, but he wasn't really prickly. Enjoyable to cover. John Beeline went from not wanting to do anything to do with the media when he first got to Michigan, Ann Arbor from West Virginia, where he hadn't had to deal with reporters much at all. You know, in that market, and I want to say Morgantown, to somebody you could just walk into his office and shoot hoops, and he'd pull his little board out and move the pieces around. He was great. Every time you'd see him, he'd light up. I mean, the transformation there, and he was just really smart and fun. But I don't know if the top of the list. I mean, come on, Jim Leland, one of the best storytellers you'll ever be around.
All right, give me some difficult people.
But he was unpredictable, so you didn't know. Sometimes you'd go in there and he could be a real shit. You know what I mean?
But okay,
as my mother would say, a little shit. You know. But there was usually a method behind it. He usually had an agenda behind being prickly.
How was like say Jim Schwartz?
I wasn't around him as much.
Okay.
A lot of people thought he liked himself a lot. I mean, Tom Izzo is probably the gold standard just in terms of access and telling you what he thinks, and he doesn't sugarcoat a whole lot. And he'll sit and talk to you off the record for ask any reporter for 45 minutes.
How about Matt Patricia?
No.
I would think that
no comment or no.
No, I didn't. I wasn't a fan of his necessarily.
Yeah, it didn't seem like anybody was.
I would think that Izzo...
Lloyd Carr, sorry, Mike. Lloyd Carr is another one who was fabulous to cover.
On the record or off the record?
Prickly. Both. Prickly a little bit, but it's just a thoroughly interesting, curious human being who had a sneaky sense of humor. Yeah.
I would have thought that Izzo and Leland would be the last of the coaches where you could really sit in the office with them and just, shoot the breeze.
Yeah, there are not many like that left. Yeah.
Do you find
when Izzo goes, it'll be. You can't do that with Jawan,
You might get punched. Do you find that with different sports that the coaches are more accessible, or is it more of a coach by coach basis?
I mean, yes, a little bit, but everything has changed. Like AJ Hinch is smart and gives really good answers, but you don't sit there and BS with him for a while. I mean, maybe some people do that are around more. I remember. I mean, I like Lalonde at
the
Derek
Wings
Lalonde for the Wings. But I think back to the days when the general manager is in Edmonton now, Ken Holland.
Ken Holland.
You could go sit in his office and talk for half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of it is our fault, because the way the sports department used to work is you had the primary beat writer, then you had a backup person, and you covered that sport. And then you wouldn't put in for overtime, but you'd take 3 months off. And now everybody covers one sport year round. There's no backup. The ability to spend time hanging around, at least for columnists, with different teams has got to be reduced dramatically because there's so many fewer people on the job. I mean, how much is this ability to interact with people on a less deadline driven, a more slower pace level because of changes in our business as opposed to changes in their business? What do you think, Shawn?
Well, yeah, no, I think it's both. I mean, yeah, we don't have the same resources, no question. And it's become a grind because in part of those lack of resources, but also because, the technological changes that have happened, social media, for example, reporters didn't used to have to worry every minute of every day about getting beat or what's broken. Teams also make a lot more news now. They make their own news. A lot of teams have their own reporters.
Yeah, Mike O'Hara went from the news to the Lions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
such a great thing.
Tim Twentyman, same thing. So
yeah, no, for sure. So that's all changed, and it's just much more adversarial in general. There's so much more money. It's not bad necessarily. It's just there's so much more money at stake, especially with players, especially in football and baseball, NBA, even hockey. But so they're like little companies. So and companies these days all are not run by, but they have PR folks and brand management and all that. And players are the same way, and to some degree teams. So there's a natural tension, a lot more than there used to be, because there's so much more money at stake.
Okay.
Well, speaking of money and shooting the shit, somebody you can sit down and shoot the shit with regarding your money is Luke Nowacki.
And Zach.
How's that for a segue?
Zach. Zach's got your back.
That's right. Both Luke and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth. Give them a call. Shoot the shit with them about your money, about your resources, and where you want to put that money so it grows for you. So when you get old, that money is actually worth more than it is just sitting in a shoebox. So once again, it's Luke Nowacki and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth. You can give them a call at 248-663-4748. That's 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke and Zach, they'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Is there anybody else you want to tell us about, Emma?
Well, I got to tell you about my experience with LASIK. It's been 15 years since I got LASIK done, and I have amazing 20/20 far vision. That means that when I look out, I see things better than you.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's better than
Show
perfect.
off.
Well, I don't like to brag, but the facts are the facts. As Shawn says, it's not really my opinion. It's very
facts,
well
yeah.
researched
You don't need to
and
rub
supported.
it in. Jeez.
But here's the difference.
That would be like me rubbing in this shirt that I'm wearing for you today. Wait, hang on. This shirt, yeah.
What does it say? National. Where's it? Are they going to charge you for the asterisk later?
No asterisk needed.
No asterisk. Oh wow.
There you go.
Goodness.
Tell me more about your fantastic eyes.
This may not age well, but unlike my column, which only I can do, Dr. Yaldo can give anybody listening to us 2015 far vision with custom LASIK. Now, here's the problem is once you have reached a certain age, a certain standing, a certain maturity level, like me in my 56th year, your near vision starts to go. That's not because of the LASIK. It's because you need more light. Your eyes, they grow and change like everything else. It's natural. But we start to rely on reading glasses. You see me on the show with glasses. Those are bifocals. I don't need any prescription for the far distance, but for up close, I do need some help unless there's a lot of light. And this can be really frustrating. The great news is that Dr. Yaldo is the perfect answer for you. Those are bifocal implants. These lenses are a revelation. Precise vision up close and far away that won't change for the rest of your life, which I wish I had done that. But you want to wait until you're at a certain point, and I'm at that point, so I'm thinking about it. You'll see the small stuff on your phone again, and for the rest of your life, no new prescription, no more glasses, no contacts, and no reading glasses. You can throw all of them right in the garbage. Take it from a piece of garbage. That's where you want to put them. This is life-changing stuff, folks. You can get a free evaluation and let Dr. Yaldo himself explain it, demonstrate it, and in 2024 and for the rest of your life, you'll see more clearly than you ever have before. So if you go see Dr. Yaldo, make sure you tell him that ML sent you. You can call him at 1-800-308-EYES or YaldoEyeCenter.com. And, of course, we'll have a link to Luke and Dr. Yaldo and Zott Ford on our website because Zott Ford is a longtime sponsor, one of our early sponsors that after a long hiatus has come back. Those are our good friends at Zott Ford and Holly. They're on the podcast and ready to make automotive magic for every one of you out there listening and the few of you who are watching.
That's where I got my Explorer from. Love that car. Very simple, too.
It's a sweet ride. So that's because Steve Gabara and the gang at Zott Ford take pride in making buying and leasing simple, fun, fast, easy, and most importantly, affordable. Speaking of affordable.
Affordable?
Affordable. F-O-R-D.
Jesus Christ.
Although around here you'd say affordable, right? Because you work at Ford's. Go lease a new 2023 Ford Escape or 2024 Ford Edge under $200 a month. That's just 2 C notes. How about leasing a new 2023 Ford Bronco Sport Explorer F-150 Super Cab for around $300 a month? Plus, Zott Ford has zero interest financing and rebates, and you can put up to $10,000 in your pocket. To top it off, Gabara bought 100 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from Fellhauer's daughter Charlotte.
Be getting them soon.
Co-host of the Charlotte and Dad podcast.
How many did you buy?
After the show.
Oh man, that's 3 weeks in a row.
But you never send me the link. You're mazzing me.
Yeah.
You're mazzing me. I'm ready to buy. You just need to return my call. Mark, you may run into Mark.
Tell me about that wonderful man Gabara and what he did.
Dropping off a shitload of these cookies. And by shitload, that's not one of the new flavors. It's a gluten-free one. But yeah, you can get him. You can get some of those delicious cookies at Zott, Ford and Holly when you get your new wheels. Yes, go get those wheels and those cookies. 2 sweet deals. See details and their delicious inventory at dealsinthed.com. That's dealsinthed.com. And of course, when you see Gabar, tell them ML said, hey, what's up?
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
I debated whether to make American politics this week's Geek of the Week, and I'll tell you why. Because Joe Biden has finally decided he's going to take some action on border security. This is something even Democrats have been clamoring for. And finally, President Biden says, okay, I'm going to do some stuff I didn't want to do. I'm going to take some action on border security. Okay, so that sounds like, progress, right? Because now finally, Republicans and Democrats are going to get something they both want. Okay, that's cool. Well, now Trump, who's been talking about border security for years. Remember this whole wall thing he started talking about back in 2015, 2016? Now he's telling Senate Republicans, don't make a deal. Don't make a deal, because if you make a deal, it's going to look good for Biden. So I don't want you to make a deal. And when people say the only reason you didn't make a deal is because of Trump, you tell them, yeah, I didn't make the deal because of Trump. So what we have here is we have one man, Biden.
And then Biden's also saying, he's like, I can't, there's nothing I can do because of laws.
Yeah, so you got Biden.
Which is passing it back on to Congress.
Who doesn't want to do it is going to do it.
Yeah.
Trump, who wants to do it, now doesn't want to do it.
Until he's.
Yeah, so.
It's not really about governing.
I mean,
either
it's
one
just,
of them.
Biden's my
winning.
Geek of the Week. Trump's my Geek of the Week. But I guess it's just our system where it's more about doing what's best for you than what's best for us.
Of course.
That is a problem. So Joe Biden and Donald Trump, because everybody knows who you are, and because we're going to be stuck with one of you for at least another 5 years, 4 years, whatever, you're my Geeks of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
As you know, our resolution in 2024 was to open up Room 7609 not just to new wave deep cuts and obscure bands that really deserve a little more fame than they got back in the day, but to your favorite tracks that haven't gotten the attention that they deserved. And Joe took us up on this offer, and we tell you we want not just a great nomination for a song, but we want a story. And Joe says, I'm picking Handsprings by the White Stripes. I always thought it was some unreleased track since I found it way back in the Napster Bear Share days of the internet. But it was actually a bonus track on the Japanese release of White Blood Cells along with Jolene. I don't really have a story on the band or the song, but I have my own personal story. 2 buddies of mine, and here's why going to Casey Kasem. 2 buddies of mine, and I decided to take a road trip to see the White, okay, that was bad, play at St. Louis in 2005. It was an 8-hour drive and pretty boring since you're just driving across Indiana and Illinois.
Bullshit.
We left at about 3 or 4 in the morning Eastern time and got there about 12 Central time. We were only 19 at the time, so we just bummed around the city until the concert, went up to the Arch, etc. The concert got out about 11 p.m. Central Time, and we immediately drove back to Michigan because my 2 buddies had to move into their dorm the next day.
Good.
Damn.
Golly, Miss Molly.
Big fans. Two, we had it set up for shifts for the drive back. 1 person drives, 1 person stays awake in the passenger seat, 1 person sleeps in the back, and we were supposed to switch every 3 hours. Yeah, that always works out. Needless to say, it was a horrible decision to drive immediately back. I had the first driving shift out of St. Louis and was practically falling asleep by the end of it. Well, that's bad until he gets in the passenger seat for the last shift. I'm struggling to stay awake, and then about 40 minutes into this shift, I noticed the car starting to drift to the left shoulder of the highway.
Oh.
I look over and my buddy is asleep at the wheel.
Oh, no.
What the fuck is this?
Ponderous, man. Yeah. Ponderous.
Boy, is it fucking ponderous, man. Ponderous, fucking ponderous.
I yell and wake him up and ask him if I need to take over driving, which he said yes. So I had to drive pretty much all of his shift.
Oh.
And that asshole immediately fell asleep when he got in the passenger seat. Actually, he fell asleep when he was in the driver's seat, so this is kind of to be expected. I was wide awake the whole way back after that scare. Lesson learned that day, always stay overnight for your trips. Oh, it's a great story till he ends it. Go Blue.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't stay overnight in Indianapolis, though. We drove back right away the last 2 years after the Big Ten championship. In case you didn't know, Michigan 3 times.
When Ben Schmidt and I drove back from the basketball national championship from Indianapolis, we had the same deal, except I started falling asleep.
I know.
And he said, do you need me to drive? I said, dude, I need you to drive. And he was a rock star. He got us home, and I was like, sorry, man. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
It happens.
I know.
It happens. So thanks, Joe. You get the idea of room 769. This is what we're looking for. So here's the White Stripes with Handsprings.
I took my girl to go bowling downtown at the Red Door. After an argument I started because I thought she didn't like me anymore. I can't help it, sometimes I feel pitiful. And of course she's so young and beautiful. Coke, that's her favorite, and I wanted to make up for earlier. But I dropped her glass and it broke, so I just gave my glass to her. She laughed and so did I in our lane. Then she went to the vending machine to buy a candy cane. But right next to that was a boy I knew with a spring in his hand, playing a country pinball machine called Stand By Your Man. I saw him talk to her, but I stayed in my lane and played my game steady, and was thinking of a day when I'd be too old to throw a ball this heavy. I'm young now, so it's easier to knock them all down. Then I looked and saw her say to him, "You're really hitting that ball around." And he's looking at her the way I did when I first met her. I can see in his face white flowers and cups of coffee and love letters. I was sorry to interrupt that game, but I went and did it anyway. I dropped my red bowling ball through the glass of his machine. I said, "Are you quick enough to hit this ball, Mr. Clean?" I was scared to lose her, so I couldn't help being mean. And that ended both of our games. I said I was sorry, but my girl left with him just the same. I thought how much I hate when love makes me act this way. I was bent over a broken pinball machine in a bowling alley, and I threw it all away. Well, isn't it all just a big game?
Wow.
And it's gone. And it's gone.
I like that. I love the White Stripes, though.
That's
like Jack. Actually, I like his solo stuff better than the White Stripes, too.
To me, it's like, it's everybody's going to cringe when I say this, but it's like Morrissey and the Smiths, you can't go wrong. Or Johnny Marr. Now, I don't think Jack White would cringe if I said he's like Johnny Marr.
Hey, speaking of Morrissey, did you see they were playing that at a Trump rally? The Smiths? They were playing the Smiths at a Trump rally?
Yes, and Johnny Marr tweeted about it.
He did, of course.
Yeah,
of course he did.
Well, because David Cameron, the conservative Prime Minister of England, was a big Smiths fan, and Johnny Marr's like, please don't use my stuff anymore. So I was like, well, if you were pissed off about David Cameron, how you feeling about Donald Trump?
I don't think they have a say in it, though. I think it has to do with, the arena or wherever it's at has the license to play what they want to play.
I imagine as long as you pay the residuals, there you go. I think it's all in the public domain, right? You can't tell what radio station not to play your shit. And Bruce Springsteen, didn't he always say, "I don't want George Bush to play my stuff"? Lee Greenwood's like, "No, keep it coming."
It happens all the time. But that
What
song.
was the name of that song?
Oh, whoa! Sean is still with us.
Handspring.
Yeah.
It's kind of Jack
Like
White
hand
does
with a D?
Jay Giles.
Yes, HAND springs plural. Hands springs.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
You know, it's even better than that because I was reading about it. So it was released as a single, and I think it came with let's see, where is it at? Only 2,000 copies were pressed and included free with the Pinball Fanzine multi-bulb. So there is a magazine for pinball aficionados, and they gave a little bonus track, and that was on it. But the flip side of it is a song by the Dirt Bombs called Cedar Point 76. So I don't know why I was immediately kind of interested in that. And that song is really, really good, man. And I think the B side by the Dirt Bombs is better than the A side with the White Stripes.
That fuzzy guitar, man, I love that.
More than just 13. All I know, she looked good to me. Hide on her trail.
Plus, it's got hand claps in it. I just thought that was a really cool song. So maybe we'll have to dig up the Dirt Bombs for.
I don't know if there's any band that takes me to a certain place and time more than the Dirt Bombs. It's like
the Smiths. Well, that takes you to every date and time.
Yeah, no, they're a band for all seasons. But I mean, the Dirt Bombs just have this sound where I know exactly where they are. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is like a really groovy spot, and the guys are all wearing Ray-Bans and the chicks are grooving and they're wearing shag coats, and it's just a really it's a transformative listening experience.
Just good music, man.
Yeah, and Ben Blackwell, of course, is the
that's right, yeah,
the nephew of Jack White and runs Third Man Records for Jack. If you like any of this stuff, I'm sure you can find it all at Third Man's on Cass, in the Cass corridor, as Ben will tell you. He's not buying that Midtown bougie bullshit. It's the Cass corridor, yo. So yeah, Dirt Bombs are great. Last time I saw them was at the Magic Stick on New Year's Eve, and of course they brought the house down, as they always do. So hopefully they'll be back again soon. This is when we thank our donors. Okay, that was over. We did not have any donors this week. Remember, you're still free to donate, even if you don't sign up for our Patreon, which is a monthly way to support the show. But if you do want to support the show, here's how the Patreon deal works. For $5 a month, that's the please let us get what we want level, you'll get an ad-free version of the show, which means you won't get the insertion ads. And you'll get the video of this show, so you can watch us. That's pretty good for $5 a month.
Today is so worth it just to see Shawn.
Yes, his pulsing S.
Right, Shawn?
Right, Mark.
And I will say, I think Mark and I are both having good hair days, so you want to catch that.
That's right. You were with us early on when you were interested in the person shoveling outside.
Oh, yeah, but then I started coughing. And,
yeah, it looked like Martin Van Buren with a respiratory infection.
Just giving you Martin Van Buren.
One of the great presidents. And if you remember your Seinfeld, the very dangerous gang.
The 8th president, the Van Buren boys.
Back when that's how they did when I was rolling. For $15 a month, which is the Big Mouth Strikes Again level, you'll get the ad-free show, you'll get video, and you'll also get the bonus episode. Our first bonus episode has been cut and will post at the end of the month, which is coming up. Mm-hmm. So if you get in for $15 a month, you will get that bonus episode this month and every month, and it's going to be different every month. We're going to change it up. I think one month we'll talk about our favorite TV shows. Another month we'll talk about some
people
crazy
Shawn hates.
Michigan news. Oh, well, I don't know if that's going to be like an all-day affair.
He says he doesn't hate anyone, right, Shawn?
Yep. Okay, there we go. So,
No, I don't. Sorry, I was on mute again.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
For $25 a month, that's the work as a 4-letter word level. You will get everything that we mentioned before and an autographed copy of the Kwame Sutra Musings on Lust, Life, and Leadership from Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. And
one of you guys maybe could give me a glass of water?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'll bring it over to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, why don't you just scoop up some of that yellow snow? It's lemonade. If you're a handsome devil, for $60 a month, you'll get all of the swag that we talked about, all the great ad-free episodes, the bonus episode, the video, and a special T-shirt or a sweatshirt or a long sleeve shirt. This is to be determined, but it's only going to be for our Handsome Devil supporters. That's an exclusive level. And if you really want to blow it out, there's a you name your price sponsorship level. I'm thinking maybe you want to do $100 a month or so. You can come join us in the studio. So
look at that.
That's all at Patreon. We'll have a link to Patreon
Shawn
on
should
our
buy
website.
It.
Well,
sure.
Yeah, he's coming in loud and clear. And you can see, I guarantee you the hair on the back of your neck will be standing up with the energy just pouring off of Mr. Windsor. Once he fully recovers from being the Free Press's road warrior. He left it out on the field, out on the tarmac, and out at the airport because they delayed his flight, but he did make it back and is recovered enough to be with us in spirit, if not in mind.
How much snow's over there, by the way?
A ton. I mean, there was like 2 inches already. I don't know. I just got a text that it's still snowing like crazy.
Yeah, we got close to 6. I was surprised.
Really? How'd you measure it?
Maybe 5. Maybe it looks like 5.
Well, up there in the mountains, I mean, by your chalet, your writing chalet.
Chalet Windsor.
Yeah. Or as they say, in Ann Arbor, chalet.
Where I eat fondue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. No,
my goodness.
I haven't had fondue. I haven't had fondue since who knows when.
Oh, you should come over on New Year's. That's our New Year's Eve celebration
Is that your
every
thing?
year.
Make some fondue. That's nice.
It's our little tradition, I guess. I don't know why. It just is.
Well, all those.
I like that.
As all those foreigners you've been talking to about the Lions would say, you can't have a fondue without fondue, mate. No.
Yeah, well, I don't have a fondue at all. I don't have a do because I have no hair.
That was awful. That was almost as bad as what ML said.
We've been here too long, and we've run out of things to say, which means
it's time to go.
Well, we passed the
all right, see you later.
We pass the baton to our listeners who always have something interesting to say. Shawn, why don't you get us started so you can get out of here?
This is from
Steve.
Is this from Steve?
This is from Steve.
This is from Steve. Just heard your podcast.
Or as they call him in England, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Esteban?
Fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you gonna stop or no?
Yes.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay.
Steve Reno?
Again, from Steve. Just heard your podcast from a couple of weeks ago. Depending on the time frame and I suppose regional area, generally speaking, beans refer to MDA or MDMA, which is ecstasy. They were usually larger wafers like you described in the 80s, 90s, but in the 2000s, they were usually a smaller pill. Not so much a psychedelic, but rather a serotonin uptake inhibitor. Although you do feel like you're tripping. So
really,
the effect of a psychedelic. So it's hard to say for sure, but if it was a wafer in the 80s or 90s and referred to as a bean, it was very likely ecstasy. Please tell Teresa that Steve Mortlock said hello, although I highly doubt she remembers me from the 80s, probably because she was taking too many beans. I knew her through Jennifer
fella.
Maxwell after I was done at MSU, actually.
Huh.
Okay, Steve. So
Thank you, Steve.
Stay away from my woman. Have all the beans you
Oh,
want.
yeah, because that's what he was doing.
Jenny's single if you want to give her a call.
Steve, to me, just kind of seems like the name of somebody who has absolutely nothing going on in their life.
But very well versed in the pharmaceuticals. So,
Yeah, I know. I kind of like the guy. I'll hang out with him.
And, I don't want to cast aspersions, but it does seem like Shawn's serotonin is a little inhibited today. So maybe.
I know he needs some of those beans.
Maybe
He's out of beans.
Had a breakfast bean burrito out there in Ann Arbor.
Right, Shawn?
Yeah.
Was somebody really shoveling snow earlier in the show, or was he just hallucinating?
Is it really even snowing?
Was that a dragon shoveling the snow? Was he melting it with his fire?
Whatever you guys think. There's nobody out there now, so maybe it was a mirage. I don't know.
Don't act like you don't know about drugs when you do.
In Fargo, with the big. Remember the Fargo guy shoveling at the end of the driveway?
Yes.
Who tells him about the funny-looking fella out at the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you're free to go. You need some rest.
With the wood chipper. Yeah. I would tell you get caught up on your sleep, but you seem to have done pretty well over the last hour without our advice.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could have been sleeping. That would have been nice. But then I would have missed you all and, would have been sad.
Is it really
especially Mark.
Okay, so have a good day. I'm going to read the next feedback. Hey, dude. As someone who drove a Zamboni at the Yak for a decade, I can confirm all of us use the snow pit as a urinal at times. This is referring to Al Sabatka, who got let go by the Red Wings for peeing in the snow pit. So this guy's saying, hey, where he worked with the Zamboni, they peed in the urinal all the time. It's a giant tank with fresh hot water flowing into, plus ice shavings, seemingly harmless. Have to believe there's more to this story. That said, please don't use my name on the show. Did I say his name in the beginning?
You did not.
Okay.
You did not. Of course, his name is Steve, the Bean Man.
That's right, yeah.
Also pisses on anything he can find.
Thank you, Steve.
Keep him away from Jenny.
I feel like there's so much more to the Sabatka story that we just don't know. And the last article was really, from Al and his lawyer's perspective. Some pretty good evidence there, though. And then once again, the still picture is what blew my mind. I mean, that guy would be so upset that Al Sabatka was urinating seemingly pretty far away from him.
Yeah, well, the other thing is he saw him through a door, and this was not a public area, and it wasn't during, high traffic time. I mean, as I said last week, anybody who's ever been in a locker room, particularly a hockey locker room, knows that urine rarely goes into a urinal or a toilet. That's unfortunate, but this is just kind of how it goes. And as our listener says, an experienced Zamboni driver, hey, you got to go. You piss in the snow. What the hell? I mean, as long as nobody's not making,
the other thing, too, is it really seems like a one strike and you're out.
One strike over, 59 years for a guy who skipped family events. So the story was, did share Al's perspective and his attorney, Deb Gordon's perspective, but it was based on depositions that were given by all parties under oath. So this is one of those rare occasions when there's a lawsuit where you can hear what the other side has to say because they've said it under oath. And in theory, it's more credible because they didn't just take a chance of lying to a reporter, which sadly is still not a crime.
Good. Thank you for
it's sworn testimony where if they do lie, they can face perjury and obstruction of justice charges. Get the bell ready like Kwame Kilpatrick and Christine Beatty. So I have one last piece of feedback, which is a little cryptic, and perhaps Daniel's referring to something in the news that I'm just not picking up on. He says, ML, in your opinion, does 18 months of court delays between pleading and sentencing seem excessive? This is a federal case. On the face of it, I would say yes, but generally what it means is that whoever pled may be cooperating and they're not going to get sentenced until the rest of the big kahuna gets their day in court because the sentence may be dependent on the value of their cooperation. So typically in a case like this where there is a lengthy delay, it usually means to me a couple things. One, perhaps the person is sick and so they're getting some sort of medical treatment. Two, there may be some really extenuating circumstances of which I can't think of offhand. And three, they help the feds, and so they're expecting a break on their sentence, and the feds aren't going to be able to argue for how much of a break they should get until they find out from the resolution of other matters how helpful that cooperation was. So, if it's one defendant alone in the singular case, kind of weird. If it's part of a bigger thing, not that extraordinary. In fact, there's a very prominent lawyer in Detroit who's been in a lot of headlines for potential wrongdoing where people who are supposedly a part of that scheme have been convicted and pleaded guilty to cases that they've been waiting for 2, 3, 4 years to find out what their sentence is going to be because that case has not resolved yet. So I don't know if that helps, but with the information at my disposal, that's all I got for you, brother.
Oh, 2 really smart answers in a row. Thank you.
Well, you and Shawn.
Right at the end of the show. Way to save it for the end.
And I throw in
a little bit of breaking news, too, that just
happened. Hey, whoa.
And, of course, Shawn's already
Steve and Teresa getting back together? That son of a bitch.
Wow, and a funny joke. Look at you.
Actually,
the show's too long. Maybe we should just cut off the front and start it here. No, Ben Johnson is coming back to the Lions, so all that worrying by Carlos is rendered moot.
Carlos is like the shitty Karnak. He's like 2 offensive coordinators, a job in Washington, and the Detroit Lions. Let's open the envelope. It's like, oh, that's not what I expected to be in there.
In his defense, I mean, it was pretty heavily reported that he was going to go to Washington. So, I don't know. I guess that's good having him back, right?
Does Daniel Snyder still own Washington? He
No,
doesn't.
no. They forced him to get rid of. Magic Johnson owns part of it, right?
Oh, well, then that might be a job you want these days. I wouldn't want to work for Dan Snyder, so
God, no.
I couldn't blame him for not taking that gig. But there's still a lot of openings in the NFL. Maybe is Johnson definitely coming back to the Lions, or he may be a candidate elsewhere?
He informed the Seahawks and the Commanders that he's staying in Detroit, per sources. It's reported by, oh boy, I hope I'm not being duped by the internet here. Tom Pelissero, who I don't even know who that is. Uh-oh. Oh, he's with the Insiders, the NFL Network.
Oh, okay.
It looks like.
All right.
So.
Well, if Adam Schefter, who works for the NFL, tells us that, then I guess it's true, right? Isn't he the guy who gets his marching orders
from agents?
Yeah, and from Mr. Editor, or whatever. He wrote that email to one of his sources.
I mean, Woody. I'm going to put the blame on Woody because he retweeted it. So
Woody Woodruff?
Yeah.
Oh well, shit. Then it's solid, man. Woody's the man.
Pro Football Focus too.
Only guy who likes the Smiths more than me.
Yeah, there you go.
I go see the Smiths United, and he's in the front row. I feel like, I'm kind of not showing out for the guys. Woody's there, man. Before we jump, what do you think about this Harbaugh thing? Harbaugh leaving? Are you heartbroken? Are you happy?
Am I heartbroken? No, not at all.
Are you relieved?
Well, I'll say a little bit. Boy, do we have enough time? I feel like I'm going to give an ML answer. I'm a little bit surprised.
As long as it's well told.
And I'm surprised, and I'm mad at myself for being surprised because it's painfully obvious that this was his intention the whole time. If he could get back into the NFL after rebuilding Michigan, he would. I mean, look how much he flirted with Carolina. Why are you making that face? Carolina and Minnesota. It's clear he wants to be in
because
the
who's
NFL.
been surprised? This is the third year in a row.
I was surprised. I thought it was a little...
Really?
I thought it was a little bit of wanting to be wanted, wanting to create a little, leverage with the university. That being said, the university finally gave in to one of his contractual demands in the 11th hour, which, if that's the case, I don't know why he wouldn't just give in early on to lock it down. But I don't think it would have mattered. I think he was just gone if the Chargers wanted him, and they did. That being said, losing Jesse Minter hurts, the defensive coordinator. Losing Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning coordinator, hurts probably the second most behind Harbaugh, because that's the guy players spend most of their time with, the strength and conditioning guy. I mean, that's a personality-driven thing, and everybody loves him, so that really sucks. And they're going to lose Jay Harbaugh, of course, because he's going with Daddy, and it sounds like Mike Hart's gone. So college football, a lot of it is continuity. You don't want this attrition. You want people to come back. So I don't know. They've already hired Ben Herbert's assistant here to be the lead guy, so I think the structure is pretty well set in Ann Arbor, so I'm not mad at Harbaugh for leaving. I'm glad he's doing what he wants to do, and, that's I don't know why people would be mad at him.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, mission accomplished, right? He said he was going to do this, and he did it, and he took a lot of heat along the way, and to my mind, he did some shitty shit along the way, too, but hey.
He was fun. You got to admit he was fun.
No, not a fan.
Oh,
glad to see him gone.
And he got me this new shirt, so.
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's nice. It's yellow armpits, too, huh? That's cool. Did they come with those? Or is it Mace?
No.
But, no, I mean, this is a guy who climbs a mountain and then looks for a higher mountain. So anybody who's surprised that he's leaving has been delusional.
Do you think it's easier to win a Super Bowl or a national championship?
I mean, I think they're both impossible. I don't know how anybody can expect to do either one. So I think you pick the place that matters the most to you, or you pick the goal that matters the most to you, and you go after it. To him, I think it's just all about winning. It's all about being the best. As much as he seems to love his dad, it seems like maybe he didn't feel like Daddy loved him enough. But that's okay. He's always got to prove something. It's like, now I can sit at the table because Dad had a championship at Western Kentucky and John kicked my ass, and now
I think the guy is just ultra competitive in every aspect of his life.
Of course, to succeed at that level, you have to be have the blinders on. And
I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for him in a way. I hope he does well with the Chargers. I really do. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Lions beat up on him, but. In the Super Bowl
doesn't shock me. You're not mad that he's taken some of the best parts of
that's
the cupboard bare.
That's what I was saying. No, I don't think the cupboard's bare, but I think that's the biggest disappointment. And regarding
but anybody who didn't think that was happening hasn't been paying attention.
Well, I knew everybody knew Minter and his son were going to go with them. I'm a little surprised and that was the other aspect of the Ben Herbert thing, is there's been reports that he wanted more from Michigan, although he's being paid over $1 million. He wanted more, and Ward said no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not a big fan of Ward.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I don't know many Michigan people that are happy with Ward Manuel.
I think anybody who's been paying attention to the mess that athletic department's in shouldn't be a fan of Ward Manuel. But the only thing I actually admired about Michigan in these negotiations is that they weren't going to give Harbaugh every single thing he asked for. And in the end, they did. And he still left. I mean, the good thing...
They didn't, though. I don't...
Or they didn't give him the no matter what you did, we'll let you get away with
At the very last second. But, by then, the damage is done. The die is cast. And he's gone.
Well, congratulations,
and you know what?
Santa Ono, because you might finally get to be an important person at your university now that Jim Harbaugh's gone, because he was the president of that university.
Oh, without a doubt, he was the most important employee of that university.
Maybe the most important employee in the state of Michigan.
Government employee?
Highest paid, but
probably.
Now that Slapdick is gone.
That's not unusual, though.
No, I know. I understand.
Slapdick, is that literal?
I think the facts speak for themselves in that one. That's the only part of that case that isn't contested. But, no.
Could you imagine 2 years ago thinking that these schools both have new head coaches going into next year? I mean, it's kind of crazy.
I could imagine Michigan State having a new head coach because people were calling for Tuck's head for a long time. But Harbaugh... Harbaugh finally beat Ohio State, right? So if Harbaugh hadn't beat Ohio State... then everybody would have wanted him gone, too.
Well, I wanted him gone in 2020.
Sure. And Jeff Rieger is a fraud. I wonder what he thinks now.
Well, he's a weirdo. He's bizarre.
He's the Carlos Menares of
I'm glad I was wrong.
I'm
glad I was wrong, and I'm glad Ward was really slow to fire him. So congratulations, Ward. Your inaction makes you look like a genius.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more heads rolling at Michigan athletics before.
Why do you say that?
Because I think Juwan Howard is got to be on double secret probation.
He already said he's not, which blows my mind. No, he absolutely should be on the hottest of hot seats.
So let's go back to all coaching situations that we're aware of for the last 20 years. What happens right after the coach gets a vote of confidence from the owner or the general manager? They're gone.
And speaking of Ward, I mean, he gave the volleyball coach a raise and then fired him 3 months later. And there's no letter of, what's it called when you fire somebody? You have to write a letter. I forget what it's called. There's a
termination?
Yeah, a termination letter. There's none of that in his file. And nobody knows why this volleyball coach was fired. People were surprised he got a 5-year, $1 million deal. But, that's kind of the going rate for
$1 million a year or $200,000 a year?
Just over $200,000 a year, which surprisingly isn't even in the top 10 of volleyball coaches in America, which kind of blew my mind. But nobody knows why this guy was fired.
Yeah, but Michigan's
and
not.
More importantly, why did Ward Manuel give him a new contract 2 months before he blew him out?
Yeah, I think.
Not to mention Mel, hockey coach Mel Pearson.
Lion Mel.
And he took forever to get rid of him when there was a lot of evidence that was where it was going anyway.
Well, he got
rid
of him.
What Ward drives me nuts.
He got rid of him pretty quickly after the national championship game. I mean, that was why they were slow walking, because Michigan was playing for a championship.
Yeah, but then he stayed throughout the whole summer. They didn't get rid of him until the fall, as I recall.
Maybe it did drag out like that, but I remember once the game was over, I thought, that's it. He's gone. Win and stay, lose and you're gone. But we'll see. Anyway, big game in East Lansing tonight, Michigan State. If you see me there, say hey. And until next week, please tell your friends about the Soul of Detroit. Please tell our sponsors that you found out about the Soul of Detroit, about them from the Soul of Detroit. I know we won't fix that in post. But you are about to see a pretty slick piece of video editing.
Oh, are you going to watch it this time?
I look forward to your work like I would holding
I wish Shawn was
tiny hand of a newborn baby.
Shawn was here.
He may be. Do you hear any snoring?
Nope.
It's time for Cyrus. In fact, Shawn, it is time for Cyrus. Cyrus, will you please take us out?
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Detroit.
Sorry.
Going on 4th down.
Means never having to say you're sorry.
Love Story. Own it now.
In Honolulu blue and silver.